And speaking about the words of Chazal, that all the gates of prayers have been closed. When the base of Mikdash was destroyed, all the gates of prayers have been closed. There's only one gate remains open, and that's Shari Timois, the gates of tears. And we mentioned a lot of different Farshim, Rishonim, and Achronim about this. But I'd like to share with you today the words of the Zohar. The Zohar also quotes this concept, and it says like this. It's a Zohar in Parshas Vayichi, page 223, Amud Aleph, Reish Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph. Kor Bal Nash, Dasha Dimoy Kamei the Kuchbrichu. Any person who, as it were, sends his tears in front of Hashem, Afal Gav the Igzar Onsha, even though it's decreed upon him a very severe, harsh punishment, Yitkara, it will be ripped up, V'lo Yachalu Onsha L'Shal Tanabe, and that punishment will not be able to have an influence over him. Minolan, how do we know this? Mileya. It was decreed on Leah that she should get married to Esav. And through her tears and through her prayers, she was able to marry Yaakov. She was switched to marry Yaakov. And she wasn't given over to Esav to be a zivug for Esav. So we see from the incredible words of the Zohar how powerful it is. We know a zivug, when a person is born 40 days before the Yetziras Havlad, it's Nigzer Bas Ploni LaPloni. It's decreed in Shemayim that one person should marry someone else. In fact, in Shemayim was decreed that Esav should marry Leah, and that Yaakov should marry Rachel. Chazal tell us that Leah would stand at the crossroads and she would hear everybody saying this. It was accepted fact, as it were, that this was going to be Yaakov, that Yitzchak had two boys, and that Lavan had two girls. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Yitzchak had two boys, and Lavan had two girls, and that the boys of Yaakov would marry the girls of Lavan. But Leah, with her tears, she was able to change this Gzera. And this is a very powerful idea we have to really internalize, as we brought from the Miri. The Miri says that it means tefillah mu'umka deliba, from the depth of your heart. And I want to add one more important point here, two more important points, in fact, that tefillah is called avodah shebelev. Tefillah is when we change our hearts. And the Sfarim asked the question, how can tefillah work? Hooray. All these shirim about thanking Hashem when things look bad, everything Hashem does is for the best. And whatever Hashem decrees on us is the best. So what's the point of tefillah? There's a sefer called Milas of Tefillah, and he explains there that by tefillah we change ourselves, we elevate ourselves, we become different people. That's the avodah shebelev. When we daven, it's called avodah shebelev because we're changing our hearts. By going to the deepest recesses of our heart and entrenching and internalizing that the Yeshua can only come from Hashem. And as bad and as difficult as things seem, but Yeshua can come from Hashem. By changing our heart and elevating our heart and making our heart closer to Hashem and more spiritual. And in fact, we know the Ruach rests in the heart and the Neshama rests in the mind. If we can elevate our Ruach, right, come to Ruach HaKodesh, the Vilna Gaon explains, Ruach HaKodesh is elevating, sanctifying a Ruach. How do we do that? We do it through tefillah. Through tefillah, we elevate and sanctify a Ruach, and that makes us better people, and it gives us Ruach HaKodesh. At a certain point of Ruach HaKodesh, we're like Rav Chaim Kanievsky, we can know what's happening in the world. The secrets of life are opened up to us. But everyone, says the Vilna Gaon, has a certain level of Ruach HaKodesh, and that's by elevating a Ruach. How do we elevate a Ruach? Through tefillah. Because the Ruach is in the Leiv, and avodah shebelev, we turn our hearts to Hashem, and we recognize He is the only source of salvation, then we elevate our Ruach, and we elevate our Leiv, and we come closer to Hashem, we get Ruach HaKodesh. And then in the schus of that, we become different people, and our tefillah are answered. I just want to finish off with one more very critical point in this topic. It's from a sefer called Chemdas Hayamim. Chemdas Hayamim is a sefer that deals with Inyanim of the Zohar, and it's in Perek Zayin Os Mem Vav. He brings from the Arizal that even though it's a very, very great madrega level to daven with tears, you shouldn't do it in the morning. Why is that? It's what we mentioned before in another Zohar. The Zohar says, Simcha v'safra v'rina v'ramsha. That in the morning there's joy, and in the evening, then there is in the evening there is din. Ramsha. Simcha v'safra v'rina v'ramsha. We spoke about the Zohar before, but the Arizal adds a new twist to the Zohar, that in the morning your tefillah should be with joy. You wake up in the morning, Hashem has granted you a new day of life. Someone just told me this morning, he mentioned, of course, we all know the tragic death of Rav Wallerstein, but it was all of a sudden, one day, just wasn't Zocha to have another day of life. Not that he wasn't Zocha, but Hashem decided that this time in the world had ended. We all have to wake up every morning with tremendous joy that Hashem has given us another day of life. And therefore, the tefillahs in the morning should be with joy. And we're given a great present of another day of life. In the afternoon, by Mincha, Rina Baramsha. When we come to Mincha, then that's the time to try to elevate ourselves through prayer with tears. And I've been working on this all last week. I tried. It's very hard. It's very hard to open our hearts and get the tears. I mentioned this to Rav Tzvi Shlevsky, the Shabbos. I was by him, the Shabbos table. So it's very hard. You have to really dig deep into your heart and think about the Yeshua. Salvation can only come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And really try to dig in and arouse your emotions to tears. That Hashem is the only source of Yeshua. And if we do that, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll be zocheh to the Yeshua. We'll be zocheh to see the Gula B'Karov. We'll be zocheh to Yeshua Pratis, personally, and Klolis on a national level. We should all be zocheh to that, and we should all try our best. And if we can't cry, we should ask Hashem to help us cry, because that also needs tears. To daven with tears also needs tears, because our hearts have been hardened so much from what's going on around us, from the tremendous wave of insensitivity that has overcome the world in the past generations, the wave of self-centeredness and the wave of focusing on ourselves and our needs, which is not the Torah perspective, is that, as Rav Chaim Volozhin says, a person is created for other people. Every thought or every moment of the day should be for other people. As I cited many times already from Rav David Cohen, the Rosh Yeshiva in Hebron, what's it mean to be misasik with Gvilas Chasadim? This will save a person in Chevron Mashiach, so Rav David Cohen. Think about other people. All of your focus, all of your mind should be on how you can help other people. And that makes the person less self-centered and more given over. If we were more focused on others, it would be easy for us to cry. We could focus on a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and how much we need Him, but we get so caught up with ourselves. It's hard for us when we daven not to think about lunch and our job and even our learning. It's not appropriate time to think about that during tefillah. So we have to dive into Hashem to make ourselves less self-centered, more focused on Him and His will, and less on ourselves. And that we should be able to pray with tears. Hashem should answer our prayers quickly, and we should be zoicha all to daven with tears. Amen.